Hey guys, how you doing? I hope you guys can hear me. So this is a brand new software we're working on. So this is totally different. We're going to see how this works. This is a software called StreamYard, and it's a little bit different. But let me know how it sounds, guys. What do you guys think? Does it sound really good? Definitely want to know. So let's see. So let's see who's here today. We have Willie. Hey, Willie, Mike, good to see you. Patty and Joe and John, John Payne and John Diekman. And let's see, we got Wendy. How are you feeling, Wendy and Patty? And so a nice, healthy group. So, and Monty, how you doing? Brad, how's it going, guys? So, guys, what do you think of the sound and the picture? Pretty good. How's the picture look? So, I'm also using a DSLR, which I haven't been using before. And a DSLR, I have a 24 millimeter 2.8 lens. So you see, I have like the blur in the background, which is pretty cool. So that's pretty neat. Let me see. I think everybody is here. Let's see how it's going. So one quick thing. I haven't heard from Ken, so we might have had a communication gap. Hey, what's up, Chris? How's it going? I hope that's what it is. I hope he'll be by later today. So it looks like you might be stuck with just me tonight. Hey, what's up, Juan? How you doing? So Chris and Todd, so good to see you guys, very much so. And so with the StreamYard, it's really cool because I'll able to go ahead and do a little more things. I could go ahead and have interviews with several people, maybe even 3 or 4 people, which is really nice. And hopefully Ken will be by shortly. So we're keeping our fingers crossed for that. So this is StreamYard, which is pretty good. It's a little more expensive than the other program, but I think it gives the live stream a lot more capabilities to do different things and just take the professionalism up another notch. So I can show you one thing that I could do here. Hey, Steve Leahy, how are you today? Good to see you. And so I can actually show different comments here. So here is, I could go like this and press show, and we can see what Steve said. And that's really cool. So that's exciting. So this way, we could, see, sort of feature different comments. So when someone asks a question, I could go ahead and, feature the question. And I think that's really exciting. Mr. Johnson, how's it going? Good to see you, Mr. Johnson. And I know we're all looking forward to seeing Mr. Ken, and I hope we get to. So that would be exciting if we can. So we'll see. Mike says, hang a blanket or two to wall decoration. There's a faint echo when you are sitting back from the camera. So are you guys also hearing a faint echo? Let me know if you are. Well, actually, I think it might be because of the headphones. If I put it back in, I think that might cause it. Let me know if anyone else is hearing the echo, guys. That would be cool. So Tone, how's it going? So Tone, he is doing some really cool stuff, and I really enjoy it. So I think it might have been the fact that I had the headphone mic, but thanks for that heads up. I appreciate it. So far so good. But I think we're okay. So that's good. I have headphones because that stops the echo, but I think I had it off and you were hearing it next to the headphones, so that could be it. So does anybody out there have so why we're here, right? Let us just go ahead and we could talk about different things and one of the things we can talk about is 2021. What are some of the things that you would like to see in 2021 with our channel? What are the things that you liked in the 2020 live streams? And what are some of the things that you guys would like to see me do? And, within reason, of course. But yeah, I would love to hear it. So anyone has any questions, just, any suggestions for 2021, I would really love to hear it. So for those who ordered airbrushes within a few days, I won't be having the parts until next week. So your airbrushes will be made next week and shipped out. For those of you who went ahead, and thank you very much for ordering this airbrush, which is my custom Extreme Patriot Arrow, which is very exciting. Oh, look at this. So this is nice. So let's see. So Wendy says, oh, it's not good. She's still feeling rough. The doctor made her get tested again. If I'm positive, we'll start with antibody therapy. Oh, that's good news that, you're getting better. And I'm so sorry that, you went through this. We're always praying for you to get better and better, Oh, here's something interesting. So Steve says, looking forward to the sepia tones in 2021. Actually, I do have the mixtures here, and I'm just perfecting them. And so it's going to be light, medium, and dark in the sepia mixtures coming up, which is very exciting. I'm not even sure what paper we're going to use. I'm going to play with it and see exactly, how we could. But the thing is, I never want to send out anything that's not perfect and something that is not going to actually be totally beneficial and really make it easy, right? It's all about making things easy for you guys and making the whole idea of reduction and everything less of a mystery and just more having fun with the airbrush. So great comment there, Mr. Leahy. I appreciate that. And let's see what else we have. Okay, we have a couple people are really excited about the sepia tones. And so that's exciting. So Chris, Mr. Garcia, he mentioned that he liked to see colors. Now, that's down the line, but one of the reasons that I'm holding off with the color is because I want the channel to be for, gaining control of the airbrush, right? And making airbrush fun and sort of talking people down from selling their airbrush and those who have questions about dilution and just getting control of the airbrush and reductions and everything, air pressure. But we might have something special for you in 2021, Chris. Definitely. So definitely got to pay attention to you, Chris. You have great ideas. He's doing some really good things, Chris, in color. So I really appreciate that, sir, so much. So Patty says, Patty's talking about she needs to get better so we can have a road trip. Yes, Wendy does need to get better. And we're all praying for you and hoping for you, Wendy. That's for sure. Epic History Maker. What about they totally aren't enough manufacturers? I'm not sure what that is, Epic History Maker. Very interesting question, though. So Monty also says sepia sounds great. So definitely we're going to have to do something with sepia, right, guys? So Steve said, this is nice that I do some great color work. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I would say about 2 years ago, I decided for myself I wanted to bridge the gap from my drawing to my painting. And I've been drawing since a very young person. And I always felt there was a gap a little bit technical wise from my drawing to my airbrush. So I wanted to, about 2.5 years ago, just say I'm going to just concentrate on black and white like the old masters did. John Augusto Dominique Ingres, Jacques-Louis David. They worried about the underpainting and the drawing process. So that's where we are now. I'm still doing color work in pastel, although I don't show it on this channel or even lately, but sooner or later I'm going to bridge those gaps. But this channel I want really to be about getting control of that airbrush. But sepia is definitely in the future. That's for sure. And oh, look at this. This is interesting. So Epic History Maker says, is a German dark yellow used on tanks? Oh, look at that. Epic History Maker. That's pretty cool. So let me take a look at your first question here. And says, but what about that yellow color? There's totally aren't enough manufacturers making that color. I would love to see an example of that. If you can email me, paintingglyphs@gmail.com, I would love to look into that with you. But great information. I really appreciate that, Epic. And yes, I don't show right now I don't currently show the color work, but that will come down the line little by little. Hey, what's up, Jake? Good to see you. How are you? So cool to see you. Roy, how are you? Good to see you. Brad says, color, what's that? That's pretty funny. And thank you, Willie. So this is definitely in the works, and it's just something that I've been touching on and breaking it down into different compartments, introduction, going over the materials and everything. So Willie said he would like to see a DVD from me. And Willie says he's slow and he could watch it over and over again. That would be wonderful. Thank you for that encouragement. I'm going to look into that. I have been looking. I'm going to speed it up. So thank you, Willie, for that encouragement. And so also, Roy says, looking forward to sepia in color. Very cool. So I think a lot of people are very excited about the sepia, I think that's something. So Wendy says, click on the menu dots and then go. Oh, okay. Let's see here. Mike says, yes, you'll need to click and drag. So definitely Steve concurs with Willie on the DVD. What I'm thinking of doing is a DVD with with a lot of, the materials and different packages that you could go ahead and order with that just to save money. I'm all about saving money for artists because I'm an artist myself. And so I always like to bring the prices down. And that was my goal from the very beginning, is to teach artists much lower price than the status quo, because then artists could buy materials that could help them along. So that's my thing. I think it was in the 2018 State of the Channel address, which I usually do every year around this time. And I talked about how it's so important to, give quality to artists, because a lot of us don't make money from our art. And so, I would rather teach in a lower price and, help you guys out and girls. So, and, Chris says, that's because it's a monotone world. Sometimes it feels like that, doesn't it? Sometimes it feels like that, definitely. And then Steve says that would be awesome, which is great. And so right now, this is taking up the whole screen. There's nothing else unless Mr. Ken comes, and then we can do an interview with a split screen, which is really great, And so that's really neat. And so here's something. Mr. Leahy says, interactive DVD with a game included, like Candy Crush, plus India ink bottles, Fonz and Porter pencils. How about like a video game having to do with, you have to knock down the India ink bottles with the Fons and Porter pencils. I think it's in the works, my friend. It's in the works. And let's see. So right now we have, and thank you so much, Steve. I love you too, buddy. And so definitely the video game with the Fons and Porter pencils, trying to knock down the ink bottles. I think this is something that could really be boring. Oh, yes, the Pitt pastels. Yeah, those. I've been working with pastels since when did I start working? I think it was 1986. 1987 is when I started working in pastels. And that's how, pastels got into my airbrush method, So, and I've always been working on tinted paper since forever. And I'm not even going to say how many years because that'll make me feel old, that's for sure. Oh, okay. So Steve wants royalties with that video game. So we're going to have to talk offline, sir. And I'm just going to check real quick to see if Mr. Ken is about. Let's see. So far. Look at my old phone. I think it's I think this one came out in the 30s. Let's see. I don't see anything. Okay, so if not, we'll just hang out. We'll hang out and talk. It's the end of the year, and we'll listen to some suggestions and stuff like that, which will be really cool. So that would be really neat. And yes, that's right. So Steve loves the part of when I come in with the white pastel and the sandpaper and the stumps, right? That's like his favorite part, which is my favorite part, when all that hard work comes together. And one of the things that I've always been stressing, and over the 2021 definitely, is stay light. Light is always right? Too dark, too early, too bad, too sad. So in your own work, guys, always stay light as long as possible. I stay in the light mixture for 60% of the painting. I'm just sitting here, and hopefully Mr. Ken will be by. If not, it's just going to be me talking about airbrushes, and not necessarily my airbrush, but if I will talk about my airbrush if you guys want that. But let's hear some of your trials this year. What are some of your trials with airbrush? But what are also some of your victories, right? What is something you had trouble with in 2020 that now you feel like you're much better at? And I would love to hear it. Oh, look at that. The secret weapon is a Steve Leahy airbrush exacto. Look at that. That's true, Chris. Steve Leahy does some amazing things with the X-Acto knife. I'm telling you, he can get in there in the tiniest little thing, which is fantastic. I just love that, and he's actually encouraged me to get much better with the X-Acto knife, like getting better. So working hard and trying to catch up to Mr. Leahy is not an easy task. And let's see. Wendy says, you're trying to make your font bigger. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And yeah, this is all new, so we'll get all the bugs out, definitely. Oh, look at that. So Brad says everything that he was a complete newbie a year ago. He has come so far, that guy. I'm telling you, the work he's doing. And this is someone who is a master in woodworking. It's just unbelievable. But I think once you're a master in one area in art, it's a lot easier to master something else. And I think that's what we're seeing with Brad, which is really wonderful to see. And let's see. So Mr. Steve says, if you like, he can drive over and throw a snowball at gas. No, I don't want to do that. I want to stay friends with Ken. I don't think he'll take too kindly of that. And I think it was my fault of communication. And I always say it's my fault. Yeah, that's okay. So Patty says that she would like to have a book of Tim quotes. Yeah, the 1 second rule and, uh, you know, uh, whatever's facing the light is going to get the white, right? So we have a lot of them. So that's true. And Tone says his attitude towards worth and value of my skills. That's great because you have a lot of value in skills, and that's for sure. Doing some great stuff. I mean, watching you under a time crunch too, which is really great. And of course, I am in agreement that Steve Leahy truly is a master of the tiny. His paintings are so small. They're just incredible. And I do have this painting. I did show it last time, but this is kind of like a show and tell kind of thing. Pow! This is a Steve Leahy exclusive. It's actually showing my airbrush, which is pretty neat, so cool. But this one is, how big is this painting there, Mr. Leahy? It's really small. Is it like 3 by 4 or something like that? But I'm excited about that, definitely. Let's see. So Ken is working hard. He's always working hard. That's so cool. And so right here it says, Mike says his biggest gripe with the airbrush India inks is that they don't taste as good as yeah, please. On record, don't drink the India inks. I know it's just soot and carbon and water, but I don't recommend eating the inks or drinking them. Thanks for that laugh there, Mike. That was really funny. I did get some, let's see. Okay, very cool. And let's see here. What else do we have? So here, Mr. Roy says, let's do a large painting. That's an idea, definitely. That's a great suggestion. I can see that happen. And here, Mr. Monty says he dropped his airbrush a few days ago, fixed it today, and then killed his compressor today. Oh, my goodness. You know what? In 2020, out with the old, in with the new, maybe. Well, I hope you get a compressor real soon. I do recommend something that has a tank, because if it doesn't have a tank, it'll be going on forever. And a quieter compressor, California Air Tools, is a really good solution and really good price, And let's see here. What else do we have? So Tone says he's going to run to the store. And so definitely make sure you pick me up some gum or something there, Tone. And Brad says, don't. So this is what Brad says. Don't drink the ink. Also, don't eat yellow snow. That's actually probably the best advice I think anyone could give. Very funny. And so here it says, Joe says, a client that pulls a painting off the internet insists you use it on their tank and fender, basically reproduce someone else's art. I don't know. I haven't run into that. Someone using someone else's art. It's just, to me, it's sad, because I would rather teach them to make their own art than to do that, It's very sad when people do that, because their art has a lot of worth. And I think when they do that, more so than stealing the art, stealing the image, I'm thinking that they are, low self-esteem when it comes to the painting, which I think is sad, definitely. Oh, this is nice. So Steve Johnson says, Mr. Steve Leahy, you're a master, enjoying your feeds as well. Yes, Mr. Leahy's streams, they are on, which is really cool. Mondays at 6 to 7:30 usually. They're just really great. I learn a lot from it. It's very lighthearted, like this particular group, and people are, very relaxed and, all inclusive, everyone at all levels, just like my live stream. And that's why I keep coming back. And Marge is there and Chris is there all the time, Patty. So it's nice. There's a nice crossover between Mr. Leahy's live stream and mine, which I really like. And always at dinner time. That's true. There are times I'm making my shrimp cakes, or no, my shrimp burgers. I'm making them during the live stream, which is really good. But a lot of times I'm getting my fingers, which has, breadcrumbs onto my iPad. So that's the only thing. Just wipe your iPad off because it's around dinner time. So let's see. So we have here, Mr. Leahy says, Tim nailed it. Talked him into letting you do something of your own. They get your original art unique. And thank you so much. I appreciate that. Exactly. Definitely you want to, do your own art. We need to do our own, express ourselves and get better. That's what this channel is about. And Mr. Leahy's channel is about, And let's see. So Chris Garcia said, the best part of 2020 was meeting great artists like me and Mr. Leahy. Well, I appreciate that. And it's an honor to meet you, Mr. Chris. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Definitely. And let's see what else we have. It says new comments. Let's see. So here we go. So Mike says, since we're waiting on Ken, I want to brag on Badger for a sec. They mailed me the wrong part. And after contacting them, oh, wow. And so that's something definitely. I think they're shorthanded now, Mike, and that's what's causing it. And Mike says they offered to mail the correct part and keep the wrong part, even though it was much. That was great. See, so they came through customer service wise, Mike. That's fantastic, and that's great to hear. So that's really cool. So definitely, I'm glad they did that. I know what it's like to have broken airbrush parts, and Badger's always been very cool with me. Actually, the whole airbrush industry is really nice, but particularly Brad, that's definitely cool. So Steve's talking about Ken's jokes. I'm telling you, that's the charm of Ken. Those jokes are great. Whoops, not that. Here we go. Yes. So Ken. But everyone, do you guys watch Mr. Ken's live streams on Sundays? They're really funny, and that's what Steve is alluding to. So hopefully Ken will be by. So I'm hoping. If not, we'll just we'll hang out and talk for a while. I think it's nice once in a while to do something like this. And so the thing is, with this, I have to wear these headphones. Otherwise, I will actually hear an echo here. But I think it's pretty cool. So far, so good, which is really neat. So how's everyone been using the light mixture? Have you guys, let me fix that here. Light mixture. There we go. The white mixture. How you guys been using that? I've been actually getting much better with that in 2021, which is really fantastic. Shipping has been rough this year, hasn't it? Shipping has been really very, very rough. Mr. Roy has been really cool to purchase one of my airbrushes. And I'll tell you, color graphics. And even though Mr. Roy lives only like maybe an hour and a half away, maybe 2 hours away. His airbrush should have got there within 2 days. And it took like, I say maybe 15 days because UPS sent, United States Postal Service sent it all the way to South Carolina and came back. But he finally got it in working order and he's happy with it. And thank God for that. And we worked together and it really did well. So that's so cool. Oh, look at that. So that's funny. Let's everyone find a pic of Tim and do our own portrait of him. Post. That would be some. There are so many better models out there, my friend. No, we don't need pictures of me. There's so many beautiful people out there, Mike, but that is funny, you know? And so, oh, let's see. So John says, this is what John says. Harbor Freight for a compressor. You picked one up for 129 and it's 54 decibels is not bad, right, guys? 54 is doable. So 129 is pretty good deal there, definitely. And so that's really great. Yes. So Willie bought one of my airbrushes and they're available at paintingglyphs.com. And Willie, his went smooth. So Willie did get lucky during this holiday season. And thank you so much for ordering that airbrush. That's pretty exciting. So I was very happy that you did purchase. Yes, Chris, definitely. Oh, so you're waiting, still waiting for an order since November, all airbrush parts. Oh, yes. So that's rough, you know. And so I'm still waiting for some parts for the new orders so they're going to come in next week. So I'll be fulfilling all the new airbrush orders on my website, paintingglyphs.com. So thank you so much for your patience, my friend. And so Steve said he had 2 lost, 1 damage and still stopped. Wow, shipping has been really rough, you know. And Brad says he just got a Makita 58 decibel for 240 Canadian, which is like 175 US. So let's hear some of your compressors out there and what PSIs you like to use and why. I'd love to hear that. That would be cool to, hear your thoughts on compressors. Interesting. This interesting here. Let's see. Willie says, Tim, have you ever tried to hop up a 2020 Slim? So basically, you mean like go ahead and customize it? I haven't. I mean, I really think the 2020 Slim is really fantastic. I think the 2020 Slim is really fantastic right out of the box, It's really great. I love that airbrush, but this airbrush gets a little more detail. I mean, this airbrush, the 2020 Slim's wonderful, but this one gives you more detail. And that's the truth. And that's why I use it all the time. I wouldn't recommend anything that, I don't use all the time. I go to airbrush, but great question there, Willie. And I know you have the 2020 Slim, which is really great. So Steve says because of the shipping problem, he's shipping the rest of his work out mid-January. Customers definitely understand. I can understand that. Sure. That's for sure. Oh, look at this, Mr. Leahy here. A total beast. It's run for years and years. The Silent Air 50-15. We're not worthy. We're not worthy. That's a really beautiful airbrush, my friend. And because he has his live streams and you don't even hear his compressor. But I hear they're pricey if you bought a new one, right, sir? So John says he has the California Ale. Not California Ale. I think I'm thinking of beer, but California Air 2010A at about 18 to 20 psi. That's really good. And you do some great work there, sir. Really. So thank you, John, for that. So that's very good advice. And John says he uses the Sotar 2020. Very good. Very good airbrush. Very sound, I have to say. And so Chris Garcia says his mailman made sure he got all his 543s. Yes, and those are the paintings by Mr. Leahy. So that's exciting. That's very cool. And Brushstroke says Master Force 30 gallon with a 15 gallon auxiliary tank setup. And he likes to run 20 to 40 psi. Wow, a little higher than I would use, but very cool. And then we have, look at this. So Mr. Juan recently purchased a Sparmax 2-gallon compressor. 2 gallons is a nice size, right? It's not going to go off too often. So I like a 2-gallon size. That's really nice. Let me fix the focus here. There we go. That should be better. I'll fix it. Let's see. There, much better. So, yeah, so that's a great one, Juan. And Mike says he picked up a Silent Tech from Lowe's, less than 60 decibels. That seems to be the Mendoza line, right? Anything from 60 on above is kind of too loud. Anything 59 and below seems to be the sweet spot. So that's great. Thank you for that, Mike. And Steve says, yes, about 1,000, but his kicked the bucket, and he would like to stand on a corner and hook till he... That's pretty funny, my friend. And Mike says 25 psi in the line, 10 at the brush. Yes, that's pretty much how I go, Mike. 25 at the airbrush. I mean, at the compressor. And then with the Mac valve and the pack valve, I just dial that in, for whatever I'm doing, right? And so John says, Tim, do you offer orders of just light mixtures as I use more? Exactly, definitely, John. So you can definitely, email me and I will instant message me and we can do special orders. So that would be my pleasure, definitely. Good question, because a lot of people use the light mixture most, and because 60% of your painting is the light mixture, so I understand. That's definitely true. So Raoul says, Silent Air 20A and a Badger 20. That's nice. That's amazing. So now the Badger 20, is that a different compressor? Oh, look at this. Wendy says she's loving the big text in the window. It's really cool. This is StreamYard. So I think we are getting rid of XSplit. I think this is much better for the live stream. So thank you for that. Chris says, oh, look at that. Chris is using the Crex airbrushes at 25 psi. I'm a 25 psi guy myself. I love 25 psi. And then I never want to go over 25 psi for the amount of detailed work that I do. And so David, how you doing? Good to see you. So David says California Air Tools 10 gallon, 15 to 65 psi, but mostly 30 or lower. That's a good 30 or lower is good. Definitely. I definitely concur with that. And California Air Tools 10 gallon, that's a big one. So you need that. It's nice that it doesn't go off that much. Hey, Mike S., good to see you. California Air Tools 6010. I own that compressor. Very good compressor. Nice size. And running at 15 to 25 psi. Very cool. So I see a definite pattern, which is really great. And Chris Garcia says, oh, what's going on to Mr. Mike, which is cool. Everyone's saying hello to Mike. Mike rocks. And here we go. We have, Epic History Maker says he uses his 150 and Renegade Rage between 10 to 25, depending on what he's using. That's a very wise decision. So you know what you're doing when it comes to, the PSI. I can see that, Epic. And the compressor is a 3-gallon. Oh, look at that. The Pancake from Harbor Freight. Do you find that that is very loud? Do you have that in a separate room? What are some of the things that you do to combat noise? And I live by myself, but I have neighbors underneath. So I put my compressor in the closet. So, but it slowly gets louder with time, I find, as it ages. Plus, I'm airbrushing 6 to 8 hours a day. So I do kill airbrush compressors, And so my guest says that the pancakes are loud as all get out. Raoul. So what does Raoul say? The official name is Badger Billionaire Model 48-2 Silent Airbrush Compressor. Wow. And what does that retail about? Great. That sounds fantastic. So Mr. Leahy says he is 8 hours from Badger and he's going to go throw snowballs at Ken's. Oh, my goodness. Don't do it. It's my fault. I'm the one. I must have had some sort of communication gap. So please, you can email. Actually, what you could do is put the snowball in dry ice and then send that to me. And then when you send it via proxy, I'm going to throw it at my own window. And let's see. So my guest says, oh man, okay. Okay. So here's what Epic says, that the pancake compressors are quite loud. His spray area is in the basement, and he also has a compressor on styrofoam pads. See, that's smart. You reduce that vibration, reducing the sound, which is really fantastic, So I'm still holding out hope that Mr. Ken is going to come by. If not, we'll do it next week. That's all. Or maybe we'll do it again this week. So we'll definitely work that out. But what do you think about how I can put your thoughts out there? What do you think about that? Like your comments, and we can talk about individual comments. Look at this. So this is cool. Raoul picked up that compressor from Badger on eBay. Was that used? So one of the things we can talk about are cameras for artists, and that's something we can definitely talk about. It could be my phone fell. Okay. So it could be, I agree, it could be a time thing. He might be coming by at 10:30. That's very possible. So thank you for that. And Patty says she's about an hour and she'll happily throw. Oh no, throw them at me. That would be better. Like I said, it's probably my fault, most likely. I'll take the fall. I'm used to taking the fall. I'm the fall guy. I don't mind. And Roy says, oh, okay, let's see. Because now Roy's used to doing T-shirts. So he has a California 2010, which is really great. 25 to 65. Yes, you T-shirt artists, you got to have that really, almost like a fire hose. Definitely. And the work we're doing together, because right now Roy is taking a workshop with me. He's doing great work. And then we're at 25. So that's good. And so Mr. Chris says that Terry Hill compressor is absolutely amazing, but you will have to take out a second mortgage or sell a kidney or something. Yeah, that's for sure. That thing is expensive, right? That goes without saying. That's a very expensive piece of equipment there. And one day, right? That's how I look at it. One day. But my neighbors have been very nice to me, and I appreciate that. It's good to have good neighbors that understand that that's what I do for my work. But they've been very kind. I think other neighbors would have called the police on my compressor, you know. Oh, look at that. So Willie says that I should do these talks once a week. Is that true, the talk thing? That would be fantastic. Thank you, Willie. Willie's always very encouraging. I appreciate that so much. Oh, here's a good question. What are my DSLR details as a webcam? Very good question. So basically what you want to do, I have my Canon Rebel SL2 as my webcam, and you have to actually fake your webcam, fake your computer to think that your camera is a webcam. And there's this little card that you can sell. That you can purchase on eBay. And if you're interested, I'll put it on my community tab on my YouTube channel, and I'll even post it on Facebook. And you get it for like 20 something dollars. And you have to make sure that you have a fairly new DSLR, and you need a mini to regular HDMI. And then you put the mini part into your camera, and then the HDMI goes into the card, and the card goes into your USB port, and then you have a webcam that's a DSLR. It's really fantastic. And so that's why I'm getting this really good picture. I'm always investing because you guys help out the channel, with Patreon, buying products and donating. And I really love you guys for it. So I always want to put things back into the live stream, because I think it's so important to give you guys quality, right? Just because it's free doesn't mean that it can't be the best quality for you guys. And that's why this software cost me $25 a month. But I think it's worth it to give you guys a better experience, right? And that's what I want. You, Mr. Dr. Steve, how are you? Happy New Year. So it's so great to see Dr. Steve, a great friend of the channel. I'm sure he's very busy, a frontline physician, which, thank you so much for everything you're doing during this really trying time, Dr. Steve. And happy holidays to you. So that's really exciting. Now, Patty says that she has a tiny Grex green machine, super old, but it works. Hey, if it works, that's all that matters, That's all that matters. And so Steve said, Mike S. says it snows. Oh, Mike DeLoach says that it snows where Tim is. He's not going there. It snowed, I think, last Wednesday or 2 weeks from Wednesday. But yeah, it snowed pretty hard here, but we don't get that much snow anymore. That's a bummer, it really is. Oh, wow. Thank you, Dr. Steve. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm always trying to upgrade and, maybe upgrade a camera. That's something down the line. So I think we're going to do this, and we're just going to figure out the best way to use this software to implement into the tutorials, which will be really, really great. So that's exciting. And so thank you for the encouragement, sir. Thank you so much. And Dr. Steve says, got the dose of one of 2 COVID vaccines and only speaks a little bit. So much for that theory. Well, I'm glad you got the vaccine, because you're a frontline person and you need to get that. And I really appreciate you. We all appreciate you, Dr. Steve. And so I really appreciate that very much, what you're doing. And Steve echoes that. Brad echoes that. Thank you for your service. And yes, definitely Todd's been a great, and Todd and Wendy and Brad have been great people with Patreon, really helping me out. And, it's adding up. And, as it adds up and I'm able to upgrade some things in the channel. So you not only help me, but the whole channel and the whole community. So I really appreciate that, guys. Wendy and Willie and Gloria. Gloria is a great Patreon as well. And the other Patreons, which I don't recall right now, but I thank every Patreon person. It's really fantastic. And so my guest says, scroll up to see what he said. Let's see. My guess. I'm scrolling. I be scrolling. So I don't see. If you can ask that, if you can say that again, that would be fantastic. Oh, well, thank you, Dr. Steve. I appreciate that. And I really appreciate that. And, you know, and Dr. Steve bought a painting from me in 2019. And I'm so excited to have my work in his collection. And Brad has a painting and Willie has a painting. Those are all ways, and you buy from my website. Those are all ways that you really help out me so I could, have a roof over my head, but more importantly, continue this channel and just give you the top, and I mean the top art school education that I have that I can share with everybody. I don't hold back, I definitely give everything. And so that's so important. And thank you, Dr. Steve. I really appreciate that. And Chris says I have my own doctor. Well, he is definitely our honorary doctor, or our doctor here, which is great. It's such an honor to have Dr. Steve. He's such a great guy. And so my guest says, what does Mike say? Heck with throwing snowballs at my house. We need to get air tanks and airbrushes and paint the sides of my car in the middle of summer. Hey, that would be great. I have a 1999 Chevy Cavalier. It's sort of like a teal blue. I think a nice ocean scene would be really good. What do you guys think? That would be funny, have everyone, when COVID-19's over, have everyone come over my house and just trip out my Chevy Cavalier. Oh, wow. Thank you, Brad. So this is really nice. I really appreciate that, Brad. That is so cool. And Brad has bought several paintings. He just bought a painting not too long ago. So that is really fantastic. So thank you so much for that. And Mr. Color Graphics, Roy says, how about a large landscape painting on my car? That would be fantastic. Maybe something like a George Innes painting. Wouldn't that be something? Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you, Brad. Oh, so Steve, and thank you, Dr. Steve. I appreciate that. Let me see if I can get that Patreon site for you. And I really thank you guys for that, honestly. And I'm going to go to my Patreon. And let's see. And I think, let's see, home. And what I'm thinking is that if I go to, I think this would get to me. Let's see. Painted glyphs. There we go. Okay, so I do have it. Here's my page. And I just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And I'm going to copy it. And here we go. And so this is my Patreon. So thank you so much. Anything that, I'm so honored. Anything that, people take time out of their hard-earned money and support the channel. It means the world to me. It really does. And it is painted glyphs, just like the other sites, I think. So that's really cool. And so Mike S says a flame on one side and others can do their own thing. Yeah, that would be fire and ice, right? You have fire on one side and then ice on the other. I think that would be hot and cold. And so here we have Willie. And Willie says when he was a kid, his aunt let her paint her car with house paint. How did it come out? Do you have a picture of that? Oh, man, Mr. Johnson, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That is by far more than I ever could imagine you guys doing that for me. But thank you. That's going to support this channel and just bring us into 2021. And Steve says, your time is much appreciated, sir, and you're worth 20 times this amount. Just want to say thanks. Thank you. Thank you for that. That means everything to me. I really appreciate it. And I also want to go ahead and see Mr. Willie's card that he did for his aunt. That sounds amazing, doesn't it? Wow, look at that. Over-supported because I'm like that. I love you too, bro. Definitely. You guys are great. And it's Steve doesn't always have time to come by the channel, but when he does, it's always so fantastic. He's really can't say that enough. Everyone I appreciate is. And let's see. Thank you, Steve. And you do as well. Steve says I have a heart and soul of gold and I'm loved. Well, I love you guys as well. So it's a mutual thing. Definitely. And so here is interesting. Mr. Roy says foghorn leghorn on that would be cool. Foghorn leghorn on that's going to be your part of the car, Roy. So you don't have a long drive, just a couple of hours. Come to Little Ferry, and you can go ahead and work on that foghorn leghorn. I'll let you use my compressor. And look at this. So Chris says that he's going down to Brad. He'll be moving to Canada soon. Look at that. And Willie says he wish he did take a photo of his aunt's car after he did that. And he's hilarious. He says it was terrible. But I bet your aunt liked it, because it was yours. It's a great thing about family. They love you no matter what, right? They're always so supportive. Actually turned out smooth with a nice shine. Okay, cool. So that's neat. So has anyone done a commission on a car? Even though this is a fine art airbrush site, has anyone done that? So I want to show you, Mr. Leahy has been inspiring me. I've been doing some smaller paintings. This one is 5x7. So Mr. Leahy, you're rubbing off on me. That's for sure. And look at that. So Joe says that he did paint a car. I'd love to hear about it. Let's hear how it went, or it was just one, or you do several. So that's good to hear. And so basically, this is going really great. It doesn't look like Mr. Ken is coming. So you guys are stuck with me. But of course, I always want it to be about you guys, right? So what are some of the, are you guys doing New Year's resolutions, airbrush resolutions? That's something that I haven't thought of yet, but it's good to write things down because once you write them down, it becomes real. So I'd love to hear any of your New Year's resolutions. We'll post them up and we'll talk about them. And well, I know Ken's a very busy guy, and I think I didn't remind him earlier today, and that's probably what happened. And I know you guys had a really big snowstorm in Chicago, Mr. Johnson, didn't you? So that is something that I know you guys had. I think it was like 8 inches in some places, right? And Oh no, we're addicted to Badger. And so my guest says, Tim, he'll send a picture of the Scooby Doo van that he did. Oh, I'd love to see that. That sounds hot. That's fantastic. And so, Steve, how much snow did you get? And Steve says, so, not so much. I guess like here, the snowstorm we had last Wednesday was pretty much varied in just small geographical areas. Some people got 6, some people got 3, some people got 2 feet. John Payne got like 2 feet. Am I right, John? Or 48 inches, something crazy, like 4 feet. That's a lot. So Joe says he did a demolition car years ago. Kind of fun. Wow, that does sound fun. I'd love to see pictures of it when you can. And oh, look at this. This is good to hear. I've been doing the sketchbook series, guys, and you can see those videos on this YouTube channel. I just finished, put a new one up, I think the day before yesterday. So Juan says he got a 5x7 sketchbook today to practice small portraits. Yes, and one of the things I like to do, let me see if it's within walking distance. I'm going to be right back. Okay, that was fast. That's like my commute in the morning. I get out of bed and come here. So one of the things when I do these sketchbooks, so here's an example, is that, let me go ahead and hide this comment. So yes, so I'm looking forward to seeing some of that. So here you can see I'm using the paper, and I have a Bristol board. Bristol is very good, Bristol vellum. This is a little bit bigger. This is 5.5 by 8. But what's really great about this is that I can put my own paper in there, which is really fantastic. So you see here, this was the video that it was on, right? And you see here that this is the painting. And what I did is I took the color line paper and just put it to size and taped it. And here is a reference. And so that's what I do. So you don't always have to go with the paper. You can actually go ahead and do it that way, which I think is great, and it's great to practice, because what's happening is that when you do a big painting or a larger painting like that, everything's very precious. And this is, it's small. You can just pick it up and close it when you're done. And you can be a little bold with that. And I find that I have a lot of my growth when I'm doing stuff that is smaller, And Steve Johnson says 4 inches, 4 inches tops. Wow, that's small. And oh, look at this. So here, Mr. Deloche says, not airbrush specific, but his intent is to spend 3 to 4 hours per day a week, 3 to 4 hours per week on art. That's amazing. So I applaud that. And you know what? 3 to 4 hours a week by 52 weeks, that's a lot. So I really think that's great. So I'm really happy to hear that. And so Steve Johnson says 4 inches tops. And so one of Patty's is control and fine lines. So this is definitely the channel, right? This is the one thing we learn here more than anything else is control and fine lines. So you come to the right place, Patty. We specialize in that. And with the airbrush and the inks, everything's already diluted for you. So that's really great. So that's exciting. And Chris says 18 inches of snow. Holy Toledo. And that's right, because you're upstate New York, right? And then John Payne, he lives a little further up north, and he got 40 inches of snow. Holy cow, right? So that's a lot. That is a lot. So that is cool. And so, yeah. So my New Year's resolutions are I don't usually like to make resolutions. I think every day is your resolution. But I would have to say, if I have to say a New Year's resolution, I would probably say to uh, budget my time better and get better with the to-do list, and also work on that 80-20 rule, which I did a video on. I think that would really be my goals. Oh, and Willie, to do that video, to do that DVD, that's my goal for 2021. And I'm going to start that on January 2nd. I'm going to hit that ground running. I'm going to write it down, and we're going to work on that really, really diligently. And so that's important. Oh, look at this. So Mike says the 3 to 4 hours a week is equivalent to classroom time if he's taking a course at a school or university. That's great. Glad to hear that. I'm excited. Really am excited for you. And Willie says that he would like to have more time to paint, spend more time buying airbrush stuff than painting. So he spends more time buying. Well, you know what? I look at it this, Willie. You're massing the troops at the border, right? By buying the right airbrush stuff. So when you're ready to attack painting, you're all set. So think of it as preparation. So I think 2021 is going to be a great year for you, sir. Now, Roy says when he started airbrushing 3 years ago, he practiced about 6 hours a day on average. Wow, that's amazing. That's really great to hear. So, but your work is really good. You're doing great there, Roy. And Roy and I are working on a painting of Kim Novak, which is really coming out nice. And we just started with the white mixture. And there it is. I have to, this camera doesn't have a clean HDMI. So if I were to put the autofocus on, you would see all the stuff, so that's why you see things I have to put in focus. About 40 minutes from Albany is where Chris is. So yeah, so you guys are a little bit away from each other. But that was a weird snowstorm last week, is that there were geographical different snowfall totals for rather small geographical distances, which is interesting. Definitely. So also, I really liked what, God rest his soul, Kobe Bryant said. When he was a young man, he was not as good as everyone else. And what he did was his testimony. He said that he would study all year round, at least a couple of hours. And by doing that, other kids, when basketball season wasn't going on, they were playing football, hanging out with their friends. But he was diligent every day, a couple of hours off season. And in 2 years, he went from being worse than everyone else to somebody who was like really, really being noticed by the state. And that's, I think, what we can do in airbrush, is that we could do 1 or 2 hours here or there. And it might not seem a lot to a lot of people. However, I think that the cumulative, they say that we overestimate what we can do in a day, but underestimate what we can do in a year. So I think that's important, that's so important. And Monty says, let's see what Monty says. Now, Mr. Todd says, Tim, I'm not sure, but I want you to finish that thought, Mr. Todd. Your thoughts are important to me. Monty says, learning more about anatomy and improve. Yes, that's a really good thing. When we work with people, we really have to work on anatomy. Anatomy is so crucial. I mean, it's so important. And that's one of the things that I stress, is the importance of anatomy. Because the thing is, with anatomy, I don't know why my head's itchy all of a sudden, but the important thing about anatomy is that you get somewhere a lot quicker with a roadmap than you do by visual. So if you do know that there are things such as the orbital ridge and muscles here and over here. Then when you can look for them when you're painting, and the work could go much smoother. Plus, when you know the anatomy, when you're just painting the portrait, the work's going to look a lot more three-dimensional. So that's a great goal, Monty. And anything I can do to help you, you let me know. I can even do an anatomy class here on the live stream. Would anyone like to have an anatomy class in one of the live streams here this year? I would love to do that. Go over maybe, maybe do an anatomy class maybe once a month, going over a different part of the anatomy. And so here, Mr. Mike says, the f-stop blur in the background is nice. It's how our eyes see. Yes, and thank you so much. And I love that with the DSLR, that I can blur out the background. Now I have a 24 millimeter pancake lens by Canon. It's an f2.8, which is really good, and that gives a nice blur. And the 24 millimeter is not like a 50, so I can still see part of the room, which is good. But we don't have that ability with the actual, we don't have that ability, unfortunately, with webcams. So that's why I'm always looking to step things up, Mike. And I will check my email for 2 photos. Thank you. And I don't know how to show them just yet on this program, but we'll get there. And so Mr. Todd says, Tim, some of the stuff on Patreon from the live feed and others you put together. And I'm going to put some new stuff on Patreon just for you guys. And that's something that's going to be wonderful. And so I definitely, want to do that. And, I appreciate all my Patreon people. I appreciate all of yous. And that's the great thing. The Patreon people, they give so the channel can stay and we can continue doing great things. So Juan says yes with the anatomy class, which is great. Do I have other yays or nays with the anatomy class? That would be fantastic. Oh my God, Dr. Steve, if you're still there, I just want to say thank you so much, Mr. Steve, Dr. Steve. I mean, I'm really touched and I can't believe it. But, contributions like Dr. Steve and all you guys really make me feel so positive about 2021, about this class, this whole thing. What we're doing, our community is going to grow, right? It's going to grow, and I'll be able to offer more things to everyone. And I think that's important because when I was a kid, I was so fortunate to get into art schools and have parents who were supportive. And then I had a scholarship. So I'm very thankful to all of that, really just super, super thankful. And I know I couldn't have done it with all the blessings that I had. Oh, wow, Dr. Steve, you are the best. Thank you so much. And that's just so fantastic. So we have, as far as Steve says yes to the anatomy class. And then we have John says yes. And then we have a yes from Willie. And so great. And Dr. Steve says, you're welcome. You are amazing, sir. And I am totally touched. Totally, totally touched. I just have to say. And so Mr. Mike S is showing me some of the Frankenstein brushes he makes, which is really cool. And so Dr. Steve says he can brush up on some anatomy. I'm sure your anatomy blows me away. But I enjoy anatomy. I'm actually an enthusiast of anatomy. And so I'm always like reading anatomy books and everything, Dr. Steve. And you doctors are amazing. I mean, you guys and girls know the human body so well. And that makes me inspired to push myself. Funny thing is, I think I would say about 15 years ago, my ex-wife, she sold a painting, and we went to go ahead, and we went, and the doctor was there, and we started talking. I don't know how, but I started mentioning about the sternocleidomastoid, and he was looking at me and he said, "Tim, were you a medical student?" I'm like, "No, just a fan of anatomy." But what an honor for a doctor to ask me if I was a medical student at one time. That was great. Oh, so Brett says an anatomy with a good-looking live model. That is something might be a bond out of my range of possibilities, but we'll see what we can do. 2021, it would have to be after this whole pandemic is over, right? Maybe after all the vaccines are distributed. and, and so Patty says yes, please, to that. That's great. And so really great, And Mike S is funny, very funny, Mr. Mike S. Yeah, so one of the areas that I always threw me, and I'm sure you can concur, Dr. Steve, is these bones here, the radius and the ulna and how they twist, and over here. And that's just amazing, so that's always been, it's just amazing how the elbow twists and how the radius and ulnar can actually switch places, from left to right. So that was very interesting. And Brad says, think positive about getting the live model. I will think positive, guys. And Dr. Steve says, 6 feet apart, we can do it. Yes, we have to work on that. And she might have a mask on. That's all I'm saying. Yes, and Dr. Steve says, a very complex elbow, right? And so it took me a long time just to get the concept of what was happening and how the twisting. If you look, these two bones twist, right? And if you look in the anatomy, not Dr. Steve, of course, but everyone out there, because Dr. Steve knows about it, is that twisting, and it has to do with the wrist and the elbow. It's like just an engineering thing, just amazing. And I just think that's incredible. So how about this? So Mr. Deloach says, we only need airbrush technique for surreal cubism. Yes, abstract airbrush art. Has anyone ever seen abstract expressionism with airbrush art? I think airbrush art is pretty much a realistic medium, right? So has anyone heard of that or seen it? That's interesting. It's for art, Tim. Yes, I have to let the young lady know it's for art. That's funny. And Mike says, oh, no, and then we have here, Mike S says a mask. That's what and now Steve says foreshortening would be great. Yes, that is interesting. I think the artist Mantegna, I think he was in the 1400s. He was the first one to do the foreshortening correctly. And that's amazing. That's a very important element. We can definitely teach on that. That's for sure. And Steve says, oh, Steve, you do okay, that's fantastic. So Steve does abstract this. I would love to see some of your abstract expressionism. Even though I'm a realistic painter and studied very classically, I do appreciate abstract expressionism. I didn't in the early days, but I love the, Mark Rothko, Klein, Jackson Pollock, you know, those artists are just so fantastic. Uh, Jackson Pollock's wife, I forget her name, but she's quite fantastic. And the surrealists were really great. But sometimes surrealist art gives me kind of a weird feeling, right? When they start making like hairy phones or something like that. So I like I do like surreal paintings, but some of them just make me uneasy. It's like an uneasy feeling. But I do appreciate the abstract expressionists. And so Steve also. So what do you guys think of abstract expressionism? Uh, Good abstract expressionism, just like anything else, it has to be good. Um, I'm, I do love great realism, though. Oh yeah, Mrs. Pollock. That's right. What's Santa Claus's wife's? No, what was Abraham Lincoln's wife's name? Mrs. Lincoln. That was from the Little Rascals. Remember that, guys? That was hilarious. So Juan says, great stuff at the Tate Museum. That's one of the museums I always wanted to go to, was the Tate. I mean, just amazing, I know London has some of the best art. And I'm lucky here to see it, see great art. It really, and so Steve says he loves the freeness of it. Yes, as long as, I really think that an abstract painter needs to know about realism to truly abstract from realism. So that's my one criteria. And so Dr. Steve says his airbrush usually becomes abstract. Actually, you do some great work there, Dr. Steve. But I know sometimes when my airbrush doesn't work, and I do get abstract expressionist stuff out of there too. So don't feel bad. You're not alone. And so now here's something interesting. It says here, Mike says, one of his early good pieces was an art class project where he did a still of 3 objects, but swapped textures and materials. Wow, that's surrealism by definition. So that's very interesting. I like to hear that. I'd love to see that one day, changing the textures, like put wood on chrome and chrome on wood, right? That's really very excellent. So just going with the flow with creating, and that's a very good point. So you guys out there, you ever working on a painting and for some reasons it's just inexplicable, things just sort of work out smoothly, like everything is just smooth as silk? I find that, and it doesn't happen every day, but when it does, you almost feel like it's undeserved. That's how I feel, like it's just totally undeserved. And you get nervous when everything's working out. But one of the things, working out so smoothly, one of the things I really recommend, and this is what you can take from this live stream, is to take notes of what's working. I did tell this to Brad. So when something's really working out, take notes. And when something's not working out, take notes. And when you go to your next painting after that painting's over, I always say refer to your notes and revisit your triumphs and trials from the last one, and make the next painting about what you had trouble with in the painting prior. And that's how you can pragmatically have a linear progression of technique and really grow as an artist. And if you try that, and I know if you try it, if you haven't already, you'll see an exponential growth in your work, because now you're really being aware of your journey and learning from your mistakes, but being very pragmatic about it. So that's something I really recommend. And oh, look at that. Mike says he had a practicing artist as an art teacher, which is so important, Mike. I think that's very important. Your art teacher has to be passionate about it. Otherwise, they're just not gonna. If an art teacher is not passionate about the art and they don't love it so much that when they're not teaching, they're painting, then you're not gonna get as much from them, because enthusiasm is something you can't fake. And if they don't have the enthusiasm, then it's definitely think it might be time to go to another teacher. That's what I'm thinking. And Steve says here, usually a bottle of red wine is involved in any abstract. I would say for me, a good sangria, right? And then I like to eat all the fruit that absorbed the wine. So that's interesting. I do like the red better than the white, but white on a cold day and in a hot day, white sangria is fantastic. Monty, yes, the portrait he did of his daughter went that, and that shows it. Monty did this portrait of his daughter using the inks, and it was just really fantastic, Monty. Great job. Really fantastic. And yes, and did you take notes, Monty, of the things that went well, and what were some of the circumstances behind that? Because this way you can repeat it. And that's one of the great things about taking notes, is that you can repeat it, right? That's always very important. And you're teaching yourself, And Steve says, agrees, notes are very important. Thank you, sir. And Chris says, make sure you have a drink by your side. Well, I do have some water today, not exactly what you're alluding to. And then we have John does like sangria. Do you prefer the red or the white, John? I like the red, but in the summer the white is definitely the best sangria out there. Even though we just been talking and shooting the breeze together tonight, we've had a lot of people here. I think we had a peak. I think we had concurrent, like maybe 25 at one time. It's always been around the 24 to 20, which has really been great. So John and Steve concur about the red. I like the white, and the cheaper the wine, the better. Am I right? That's important. But I can't do Moscato. I got sick on Moscato once, and I just can't even. Ugh, horrifying. And Steve says, great time. Yes, I'm having a great time. I'm so glad you guys are. If nothing, it's a cure for insomnia. You'll be ready for bed after this. That's funny. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. And so that's just a lot of fun. So, things happen for a reason. Ken couldn't make it tonight, but, I think we had some great conversation, and we still have some great conversation, and that's a lot of fun. And I think the way I am, remember you guys who were with me back in the early days when there was 2, 3, maybe 4 people at a time. I mean, the people who were here are meant to be here, and that's how I feel. So if it's 200 or 20 or 5, those are the people who are meant to be here. And that's this way we don't get upset because this channel doesn't go do as well as another channel, because it's speaking to whoever it's speaking to. It might not be speaking to the masses. It might be speaking to the 21 people who were here today. And that's who it's so important to. And that's why I decided to do the live stream, is to inspire one person at a time and to help people realize that they can do great work one person at a time, not 2 million. That's not what it's about. If it gets to 2 million, I'll deal with it and figure out how I can continue to have a very close setting like this. But I am really happy with as many people who are here. And I always found that those classes were really amazing. Those small classes I had when there was like senior cut day, and I stayed in high school, and I had like the best class ever with the couple of teachers that I was with. So it's important. God says, don't despise the day of small beginnings. I think that's true. So Patty says she likes that she can take many of the techniques and tips to other airbrush art. Yes, that is so true. Yes. And now Patty does some really amazing paintings of models, which I love. And so thank you for sharing that with me. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you, Dr. Steve. And, we got to see you, and today you're here, and that's a very good Christmas present. Got to see every one of yous, and that's a very important Christmas present to me. That's for sure, and a great way to start the new year. I can't believe tomorrow is New Year's Eve. That doesn't seem right. And so Juan says, Happy New Year to all from UK. That's right, from Scotland. Very cool. And Monty says his art teacher could not even draw a stick man when he was kicked out of class because he challenged her. Interesting, right? That she couldn't draw, Monty. And I'm sure that was kind of daunting, to say the least, that, wasn't doing it. Let's make 2021 our year. I concur. And so, Chris, you have a great night. You are fantastic. And thank you for your patience. And stay safe out there, Chris. Thank you for protecting us in the streets, the streets of New York. And so I appreciate you very much. And so Brad says that my live streams are a game changer. Thank you. And I really appreciate that. That means so much, because if I can inspire you, then all the hard work of going to art school and practicing my craft really has a reason. And that's what we really need, is a reason, right? That's a reason or validation for what we do. And Steve says that Tim is a great inspiration, and thank you. Happy New Year. Well, Happy New Year to you, sir. And many thanks for the conversational feed. So that means I'm going to take that as a cue. It's 11 o'clock. We were here for an hour and a half. So this was fun. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for those who donated today. Thank you so very much for Dr. Steve. I mean, just so amazing. And I just can't say how thankful I am to everybody. And so, yes, we ended the year the right way, just each other's time, enjoying each other's company. And so that's so important. I think that's a poetic way to end it. Not so much about the demonstrations, but just, hanging out, and enjoying each other's company. And at the end of the day, it's all about people. It's all about relationships. And even though we are all over the world, it's really heartwarming, and feel very close to all of you. So with that, I am going to wish everyone a Happy New Year's. If anyone has any questions, always feel free to IM me or email me. I mean, I am always here for you. I might not get to you right away, but there's no question that is too small or too big that I could help you with, guys. So take care, everybody. Stay safe. Keep those masks on, and stay hydrated and all that good stuff. And I bid you guys an adieu. Bye, guys.